Imagine this for a second. You're a federal employee, you've been injured on the job, and now you're focused on recovery. Then your agency comes to you with an offer saying, we've got some light duty for you.
Mm.
What do you do? Because really, this isn't just a simple yes or no.
Not at all. It's a decision that's actually loaded with legal implications. It can seriously impact your health, your recovery path, and frankly, your financial security down the line.
Exactly. So today, we're taking a deep dive into precisely that situation. The, let's face it, often complex world of light-duty job offers under the Federal Employees Compensation Act, FECA. Our mission here is to cut through all the jargon, give you the shortcuts to understanding the legal standards, what agencies actually do in practice, and the crucial documentation strategies you absolutely need to navigate these offers successfully.
Right. We want to help you figure out what suitable really means in this context, what definitely isn't suitable, and how you can protect your benefits without risking your recovery.
And to do that, we've pulled insights from the federal regulations themselves, some key decisions from the Employees Compensation Appeals Board, that's EZTAB, plus agency-specific policies. And we've got some scenarios to help bring it all to life.
Sounds good. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole thing. What's the basic idea behind FECA and these light-duty offers?
Well, at its heart, FECA is really designed to encourage injured federal employees to get back to work as soon as it's medically feasible. The Office of Workers' Compensation Programs, OWCP, they work with the agencies to offer these assignments, sometimes called light duty, sometimes limited duty.
But for you, the employee, receiving that offer, that's a critical moment, right?
Absolutely critical. Because the decision you make, accept or refuse, carries real legal weight. If OWCP decides the job offered is suitable for your medical condition, and you refuse it without what they consider a valid reason, well, you could lose your wage loss benefits.
That's the penalty.
That's the penalty. And what's really interesting here, I think, is how the law draws a line between total disability and partial disability. If you're deemed partially disabled, meaning you can do some kind of work, even with restrictions, the expectation shifts.
Okay.
You're not expected to just stay on total disability benefits indefinitely. There's an obligation, legally speaking, to seek out and accept work that's considered suitable for you.
So that really raises the million-dollar question, doesn't it? What exactly makes a job suitable in the eyes of the law? How is that determined?
Precisely. And thankfully, it's not just guesswork.
Right, it's not just a feeling. The OWCP regulations, specifically sections 10.500 to 10.507 in Title 20 of the Code of Federal Regulations, they lay out pretty clear criteria.
They do. The underlying law itself, 5 U.S.C. 80106-22, is quite direct. It says a partially disabled employee who refuses or, neglects to work after suitable work is offered isn't entitled to compensation. Simple as that.
And OWCP's goal, as stated in their own rules, is to get every disabled employee back to work they can perform as soon as they're medically able. It's about facilitating that return.
So how do they decide if a specific job offer meets that standard?
Okay, so OWCP looks at really all the relevant factors. We've boiled it down to about 4 key things they always check for suitability. First, and this one's huge, is medical suitability.
The absolute foundation.
Absolutely. The job duties cannot go beyond your medically documented restrictions, period. If your doctor says no lifting over 10 pounds and the job requires lifting 15 pounds, even occasionally, it's not suitable.
And OWCP relies on your doctor's reports, right? Or maybe a second opinion.
Yes, exactly. They look at the CA-17s, the narrative reports from your treating physician, or sometimes they'll get a second opinion or even a referee exam if there's a conflict. But matching the job to the medical limits is paramount. It's about protecting you.
Okay, what's next?
Second is position availability and duties. This has to be a legitimate available position. It needs to have defined tasks that are productive and, well, meaningful.
So no fake jobs.
Right. It can't be a sham or what's sometimes called an odd lot job, like just sitting in a corner watching a clock or only doing trivial little things now and then. ECPB, the appeals board, have actually struck down offers like that. It needs to be real work.
Makes sense. What's the third factor?
Third is the local commuting area. The job location has to be within your normal commuting distance. An unreasonably long or burdensome commute can make an otherwise suitable offer unsuitable.
Any examples of that?
Yeah, there are some well-known ECPay cases like Ella M. Garner or Betty F. Wade where offers were thrown out because the commutes were just excessive. Think 70 miles one way, 140 miles round trip daily. OWCP explicitly considers reasonable commuting distance. They aren't supposed to make your recovery involve a massive road trip every day.
Good to know. And the last one?
And finally, number 4 is vocational qualifications. You need to actually have the skills, the education, the experience, or the training to do the job, or at least be reasonably expected to perform it.
So they can't just stick you anywhere.
Exactly. Offering, say, an injured construction worker a job doing complex data analysis they've never done before, that's likely unsuitable. Usually the goal is to find something at your same grade and pay level if possible. Though OWCP can authorize a lower grade job and pay partial wage loss compensation to make up some of the difference.
Okay, so those 4 factors, medical, the job itself, location, and your skills, they really act as safeguards.
That's right. They're designed to protect you from being forced into something that could re-injure you, create an undue hardship, or just isn't a real position anyway.
Which leads to another practical question.
Yeah.
How does the agency actually have to present this offer? Does it have to be formal?
Oh, absolutely. The regulations are very specific on this. The offer of suitable work must be in writing.
Verbal doesn't cut it.
Nope. A casual chat with your boss saying, hey, we've got something for you, isn't enough.
If it starts verbally, it needs to be confirmed in writing within 2 business days.
And what needs to be in that written offer?
It needs to be pretty comprehensive. It has to include a clear description of the position and its duties, the specific physical requirements, lifting, standing, bending, all that, the work schedule, the work location, and a definite date by which you need to respond or report to work.
Okay.
And here's a really critical procedural point. The agency must send a copy of that exact written offer to OWCP at the same time they give it to you.
Ah, so OWCP sees it right away.
Yes. And if any of those required elements are missing from the written offer, that could actually make the offer itself procedurally improper, which can be grounds for challenging it.
Good to know.
So let's say you've received this formal written offer that seems to tick all the boxes, at least on paper. Now, what happens? This is where it gets really interesting and where your role becomes super important.
Right. How does OWCP actually make the call? Well, first, your agency sends the offer, along with your relevant medical reports, over to OWCP. Now, here's something important to understand. OWCP often initially takes the agency's description of the job at, let's say, face value.
They assume it's accurate.
Pretty much, unless you or your doctor raise specific red flags or provide contradictory evidence. So the initial burden kind of falls on you to carefully read that offer and spot any potential problems compared to your restrictions.
Okay, so you need to be proactive.
Definitely. Now, if OWCP does a preliminary review and thinks, okay, this looks suitable based on the info we have, they'll send you what's commonly called a 30-day letter.
The 30-day warning.
Exactly. This letter officially tells you that OWCP believes the job is within your medical capacity, and it carries a clear warning. Refuse this job without a valid reason, and your wage loss benefits will be terminated. You then have 30 calendar days to respond.
And what are your options when you get that letter?
You've got a few paths. You can, of course, just accept the job. Or if you believe it's unsuitable, you can refuse or contest it. But, and this is key, you must provide valid reasons for your refusal.
Like what? What counts as a valid reason?
Generally, things like new medical evidence showing the job exceeds your restrictions, proof the commute is unreasonable, documentation of schedule conflicts with necessary medical appointments, maybe unsafe working conditions. Personal preference, though, not a valid reason.
Okay. Is there another option besides just accepting or refusing?
Yes, and this is a really useful strategy sometimes. You can conditionally accept. You basically say, yes, I'm willing to return to work within my documented medical restrictions, but I believe duties X, Y, and Z in this offer exceed those restrictions, and here's why.
Ah, so you show good faith but protect yourself.
Precisely. It demonstrates you're not just trying to avoid work, but you have legitimate concerns about specific aspects of the offer. This can sometimes prevent an immediate benefit termination while you work things out.
What happens if you refuse, provide reasons, but OWCP doesn't buy them?
If OWCP reviews your reasons for refusal and finds them invalid, they'll typically issue a final 15-day letter. This is basically your last chance saloon. Accept the job now or face termination of your compensation.
And the consequences if you still refuse after that?
They're serious. If OWCP makes a final determination that your refusal was unjustified, your wage loss compensation gets terminated, effective from the date you refused the job.
Just cut off.
Cut off. And if the job offer was for a permanent, suitable position, that termination is usually permanent. It can even affect your eligibility for future schedule awards, although your medical benefits for treatment typically continue. It's a really harsh outcome.
What if the offer was only for temporary late duty?
That's a bit different. If it was a temporary assignment, OWCP generally only suspends your compensation for the duration of that specific temporary job. So you lose benefits for the time you could have been working that temporary role, but you might be able to resume them once that temporary period ends, assuming you're still disabled.
Still potentially a big financial hit, though.
Oh, absolutely. And while you do have appeal rights, you can request a hearing, ask for reconsideration by OWCP, or appeal to the ECIB. Here's the kicker. Your benefits usually stay terminated during the appeal process.
Wow, so you could be without income for months or even longer while fighting the decision.
Exactly. Which makes winning that appeal incredibly important. Success often comes down to having very strong, clear medical evidence or proving that OWCP or the agency messed up procedurally.
It really highlights this push and pull, doesn't it? You have an obligation to accept suitable work if you can, but OWCP and the agency have the burden to prove it's actually suitable before they can penalize you.
That's the balance they're supposed to strike, protecting workers who genuinely can't do the job while ensuring those who can do return to work.
So being passive or just saying no without backing it up is probably the worst thing you can do.
Definitely. Okay, so that's the legal framework, the rule book.
Yeah.
But we all know rules on paper and reality on the ground can be different things. How does this actually play out in the real world, especially when different federal agencies might handle things differently?
That's where looking at decisions from the Employees Compensation Appeals Board, ECK, becomes really enlightening. You start to see patterns.
What kind of patterns?
Well, first, ECB consistently emphasizes that OWCP and the employing agency have the burden of proof. They have to demonstrate the job was suitable across all those factors: medical, geographic, vocational. If they miss something or the evidence isn't solid, ECIB often reverses the decision.
So the onus is on them.
Yes, but second, ECK also makes it clear that you, the employee, have responsibilities too. You absolutely must communicate your objections clearly and, crucially, promptly, and you need to provide supporting evidence for those objections. Just refusing blankly doesn't fly on appeal.
Makes sense. What else?
Third, ECK rulings show there are really no safe personal excuses. Things like deciding you want to retire instead, or moving to a different state for family reasons, or simply preferring a different job. Those are consistently rejected as valid reasons to refuse suitable work under FECA.
So choosing OPM disability retirement over a suitable FECA job offer won't protect your FECA benefits.
Generally, no. If OWCP finds the job suitable, refusing it for OPM retirement can still lead to termination of your FECA wage loss comp. And fourth, a really critical point from ECK, the job must be within your restrictions at the time the offer is made, based on the most current medical evidence available then.
So if my doctor updates my restrictions to say part-time work only, a full-time offer made after that date would be unsuitable.
Exactly. The offer has to match the medical reality when it's extended.
Okay, let's get specific. How do different agencies approach this? Let's start with a big one. The U.S. Postal Service, USPS.
Ugh. USPS. They have a very, very structured system detailed in their Employee and Labor Relations Manual, the ELM, Section 546, and also heavily influenced by their union contracts, like with the NALC or APWU.
Now, they have a legal obligation, right?
Yes. The ELM explicitly states USPS must make every effort to assign limited duty, preferably within the employee's own craft, facility, and tour of duty, if work is available that meets their restrictions.
But they've had some controversy around this, haven't they? The NRP.
Oh, yes. The National Reassessment Process, or NRP, back in the late 2000s, that was a huge deal. USPS basically reviewed thousands of limited duty assignments, and in many cases, just told employees no work available, pulling their assignments, often without properly considering alternatives.
What happened with that?
It led to widespread grievances, arbitration cases, and even findings of disability discrimination by the EEOC. OWCP eventually had to step in and clarify its own regulations to essentially prevent USPS from gaming the system and making it clear that just saying no work available wasn't enough if suitable tasks could potentially be identified or created.
So what are common pitfalls you still see at USPS today?
One big one is the disconnect between the written job offer, the PS Form 50 maybe, and the actual tasks the supervisor assigns day to day. The offer might say light clerical duties, but you get told to sort heavy parcels.
Bait and switch, almost.
Can feel like it.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes pressure or even hostility from supervisors who might not fully understand FECA rules, or the misapplication of an all-or-nothing approach, being told you have to be 100% recovered, which just isn't true for limited duty.
Let's paint a picture. Imagine John, a letter carrier, tears his rotator cuff. His restriction is no lifting over 10 pounds. USPS offers him a lobby assistant job. Description looks fine, within the 10 pounds. Sounds good.
Okay.
But day one, the postmaster also tells him he needs to sort parcels clearly over 10 pounds, maybe 20, 30, and expect him to stand continuously, which also wasn't specified. What should John do?
Okay, good scenario. John needs to act fast. First, document it. Write a brief memo to the postmaster, maybe an email, stating respectfully, the parcel sorting and continuous standing are outside the duties described in my limited duty offer and exceed my medical restrictions of 10 pounds lifting and need for intermittent sitting. He should absolutely copy OWCP on that communication.
Okay, put it in writing. Copy OWCP. What else?
Call his union steward immediately, the NALC in this case. The steward can help address it with the postmaster, reference the ELM and the contract, and file a grievance if necessary. John should continue doing the parts of the job that are within his restrictions, like the lobby work, but politely decline the tasks that aren't, citing his restrictions.
And the likely outcome if he does all that.
Very often, the supervisor, faced with documentation, potential union action, and OWCP being notified, will adjust the assignment. They might remove the parcel sorting, provide a stool. John's benefits should remain uninterrupted because he showed willingness to work within limits and documented the discrepancy. It shows the power of acting quickly and using your resources.
Great example. Okay, let's shift gears. Transportation Security Administration, TSA. How do they handle it?
TSA has its own nuances. They often distinguish between light duty, which might be for non-work injuries or while a claim is pending, and limited duty for accepted OWCP claims. Both are usually considered temporary.
Temporary. For how long?
Typically, initially for maybe 45 days, but they can be extended, often up to around 180 days total. But here's a key thing with TSA. They have an operational needs caveat. Meaning TSA management can deny a light or limited duty assignment if they determine it would significantly impede their security operations. However, and this is important, that denial can't just be arbitrary. It has to be justified in writing and usually needs approval from higher level management.
And what if you refuse a suitable offer at TSA?
The consequences can be particularly severe at TSA. Refusal can lead not only to OWCP cutting off benefits, but also potentially to the agency placing you on leave without pay, LWOP, and initiating adverse action, disciplinary action, which could go all the way up to removal, meaning getting fired.
Wow, high stakes. Let's try another scenario. Susan, a TSO, tears her meniscus. Her doctor says she needs primarily sit-down work. Her manager, the FSD, says, sorry, we just don't have any light-duty positions available right now. What's Susan's play?
Susan shouldn't take that as the final word. First, contact her union rep, probably AFGE. The union can formally request the written justification for the denial, citing the operational needs policy.
Okay, push for the paperwork.
Yes. Simultaneously, Susan should get an updated, very specific note from her doctor. Maybe something like, primarily seated work required, may stand or walk for up to 10 minutes per hour for task completion. Make it crystal clear what she can do.
Be specific.
Exactly. Then maybe the union rep can proactively suggest a specific assignment that could work, perhaps monitoring the exit lane where a stool could easily be accommodated, presenting a solution, not just a problem.
So offer a potential solution.
Right. Faced with a formal request, clear medical documentation, and a viable suggestion, the FSD might reconsider. Maybe they agree to try the exit lane assignment. Susan accepts, reports to work, performs within her restrictions. OWCP likely never even issues a 30-day letter because a solution was found internally. She works the modified duty for a couple of months, recovers, and returns to full duty. It shows persistence and collaboration can work.
That's a great outcome. How about the Department of Veterans Affairs, the VA, especially the VHA, the health side?
The VA, particularly VHA, often has a reputation for being more collaborative in its return-to-work programs. There's often a strong emphasis, sometimes written into policy, that each facility must try to provide light-duty or transitional work whenever it's medically possible. The goal is often framed as always looking for a way to keep an injured employee engaged and working.
Why the difference, do you think?
Several factors, probably. High unionization, again, often AFGE, means strong oversight. Also, many VA employees are veterans themselves, which can foster a more supportive culture around injury and recovery. It's often just part of the institutional mindset.
Let's do a VA example. Maria, a VA nurse, has a herniated disc. Permanent restriction. No lifting over 25 pounds. She did temporary late duty, but now the restriction is permanent. The hospital identifies a vacant infection control nurse position. It fits her restrictions, same pay, same grade. OWCP finds it suitable and sends her the 30-day letter for this permanent job offer.
Okay, this is a common scenario for permanent restrictions. Maria might be hesitant, maybe she loves direct patient care, but this is a formal, suitable offer for a permanent job.
What should she do?
Realistically, she should probably accept the infection control position. It meets the suitability criteria, maintains her pay and grade. She should also get written confirmation that this is being treated as a reasonable accommodation under disability law, as well as an OWCP placement.
And if she refused?
If she refused this permanent suitable offer, OWCP would almost certainly terminate her wage loss compensation permanently, and the VA might then pursue removal because she's unable to perform her original nursing duties and refused a suitable alternative. Accepting preserves her career, her income, even if it's a change in direction. Sometimes these placements open up new, unexpected career paths.
That's a critical point about permanent offers. Lastly, what about an agency like the IRS? Mostly office work.
Right. The IRS, being primarily white-collar, often makes accommodations simpler. We're usually talking about things like adjusted workstations, maybe ergonomic chairs, telework options, flexible schedules, or just modifying duties within their existing job description.
So fewer formal light-duty battles.
Generally, yes. Disputes escalating to a formal OWCP refusal process seem rarer because finding some kind of suitable modified work within an office environment is usually feasible. Managers are often tasked with identifying modified assignments at the same pay grade. The pitfalls might be more around highly specialized roles that don't easily lend themselves to modification, or maybe geographical issues if someone needs to temporarily work from a different office. But telework often helps resolve those now. It tends to be handled more internally.
Okay, so we've gone through the rules, the process, how different agencies might handle it. It's a lot to take in. What does this all boil down to for you, the listener? If you find yourself facing a light-duty offer, how can you best protect yourself and make sure you get your benefits?
Yeah, let's shift to actionable strategies. Beyond just knowing the rules, what practical steps should you take? First and foremost, get absolutely everything in writing. Always, always insist on that written job offer that meets the regulatory requirements we talked about. Keep a copy of it, and if you have verbal discussions, follow up with a quick email summarizing what was said per our conversation.
Document.
You got it. Second, compare that written offer directly against your medical restrictions point by point. Literally sit down with your latest doctor's report, the CA-17 or narrative, and the job offer description. Highlight any duty that looks like it might exceed your limits.
And maybe show it to your doctor.
Definitely. Take the written offer to your treating physician, ask them to review it, and give you a brief written note commenting on whether all the duties listed are medically appropriate for you right now. That note can be invaluable.
Okay, critical step. What's next?
Third, and this is non-negotiable, respond in writing within that 30-day deadline. Never, ever ignore an OWCP 30-day letter. If you need to refuse or contest the offer, draft a clear, specific letter or memo to OWCP. Make sure you copy your agency.
And what should be in that response?
State your willingness to work within your restrictions. Then, respectfully explain why you believe the offered job or specific duties within it is unsuitable, citing only those OWCP acceptable reasons: medical inability, excessive commute, conflicts with treatment, unsafe conditions. And attach your supporting evidence, like that doctor's note. Silence or vague objections. That's fatal to your case.
Okay, respond clearly with evidence. What about that conditional acceptance?
Right, the fourth strategy. Consider accepting under protest, especially if you're unsure or feel pressured. Report to work as directed, but then immediately document and formally protest in writing any tasks you're given that exceed your restrictions. Notify your supervisor, copy HR or injury comp staff, state your limitations clearly.
Why do that?
It keeps your pay and benefits flowing. You haven't technically refused while you work to resolve the discrepancy about the duties internally, maybe through HR or a grievance. It shows good faith, but protects your rights.
Speaking of grievances.
Fifth point. If you're in a bargaining unit, use the grievance process. File a grievance simultaneously if you believe the offer or the assigned duties violate your union contract or agency policies like the USPS ELM. It's another track to potentially resolve the issue.
Makes sense. What else?
Sixth, keep your doctor constantly updated. Give them copies of the job offers. If you do try the light duty and it causes increased pain or new symptoms, go back to your doctor immediately. Get an updated medical assessment, updated restrictions if needed, and submit that new medical evidence straight to OWCP right away. Continuous medical documentation is key.
Keep that medical trail strong.
Absolutely. Seventh, Document absolutely everything. Keep a running log or journal of events, conversations, specific tasks you were asked to do that felt questionable. Follow up verbal instructions with confirming emails. Keep meticulous copies of all OWCP correspondence, all agency offers, all your medical reports, everything in an organized file. Good documentation can make or break your case later on appeal.
So crucial. Anything else?
Eighth, really understand the acceptable good cause reasons for refusal that OWCP recognizes. Focus your arguments there. Medical inability with proof, unreasonable distance, true vocational mismatch, unavoidable conflicts with critical medical care, genuinely unsafe conditions. Don't rely on personal preferences.
Got it.
Ninth, be alert for any signs of retaliation. Know your rights under the Rehabilitation Act and other laws. It's illegal for an agency to harass or discipline you simply for filing a workers' comp claim or requesting a reasonable accommodation like light duty. Document any perceived retaliation thoroughly and report it through appropriate channels: EEO, union, HR.
Important protection.
Yeah.
And finally,
10th, if OWCP refers you to their vocational rehabilitation services, cooperate. Engage with the rehabilitation counselor. Refusing to cooperate with VOC Rehab can lead to separate sanctions on your benefits, even if the job offer issue is resolved. It's usually best to participate in good faith.
wow, okay, that's a comprehensive toolkit. It really drives home that navigating a light-duty offer isn't something you can just react to passively.
Not at all. It's a very active process. It requires you to understand the rules, understand your rights, and be proactive in protecting them.
It really seems like a balance, doesn't it,
Mm-hmm.
between your obligation, if partially disabled, to return to suitable work, and your absolute right to ensure that work is truly suitable, safe, and fair for your condition.
That's exactly the balance FECA tries to strike. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, really understanding these detailed requirements and processes, knowing how to respond strategically, you're not just safeguarding your immediate wage loss benefits. You're potentially protecting your long-term career options and, maybe most importantly, your physical and mental health during recovery.
Yeah, the worst thing you could possibly do seems to be getting caught flat-footed, being passive, or missing those critical deadlines for responding.
Absolutely. Be informed, be proactive, communicate clearly, and I can't say it enough, always document everything.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about. What other areas of your professional life, maybe even your personal life, could benefit from applying that same level of detailed documentation, assertive but respectful communication, and proactive engagement when navigating complex situations?
That's a great question to ponder.
We really encourage you, if you're a federal employee, to take some time now to review your own agency's specific policies on light and limited duty. And always keep those lines of communication open with your doctor and, if you have one, your union representative. Being prepared isn't just helpful. In this situation, it really is your best defense.